Mass at 7:30 in that particular church?
Yes, sir.
Did you go last Friday to the funeral mass that was held for Fructuoso Lopez,
No,
a
sir.
teacher that, and do you know whether part of the parking lot was used, or the entire parking lot, or more than the entire parking lot was needed for this?
No, sir, I don't know.
Well, I'll let you know that it was completely full, and it wasn't a Sunday, okay? Do you know if the church has funeral masses during Sunday?
I don't know.
Does anybody in your group know whether funeral masses are held on Sunday? If you've reached out to these people that are there and the church, have you found out whether that church uses that parking lot on Sundays for funeral masses?
No, sir, I don't know.
Does anyone in your group know that?
I don't know.
You don't know that they don't know, or
That's
can
right.
you direct me to somebody in your group that does know?
I don't know, Mr. Chavez.
Well, let me tell you so that it can be entered into the record. Funeral masses are never held on Sundays in the Catholic Church. That means that that parking lot is used for, what did you call it here? Secular? Was that the word? Sir?
Yes.
All right. That means that it's used for that purpose other than on Sundays. Do you know how the church came about having that parking lot as belonging to the church?
Actually, I do, Mr.
And
Chavez.
how was that?
And if I might, Mark is going to be able to address that specific question, and he's got the deeds and the plaques to show it.
Okay, let me ask you another question then. Do you know if that church holds Mass on Saturday night twice a month, when a month has 5 Sundays?
No, I don't.
Okay. And you had reached out to the church and to the priest and all of that. You never discussed any of these things with that?
No, we did not, Mr. Chavez.
So let me ask you this question, because it is important, because the statement was made here that the parking lot, it says, however, it was presented to the AGD, and I'm assuming that you were present when that was presented, that there are informal agreements between the church and several surrounding businesses that the lot is available for additional parking on all days except Sunday. Right? Friday of this last week was not a Sunday, and that parking lot was not available. It also says, and let me find where it says it, because by this lot being used for non-secular uses, it is the opinion of AGD again that this lot is not limited to the church uses, and therefore the purpose of the distance calculation is excluded. So if you did not present all this information to this alcohol and gaming, how was alcohol and gaming able to make an informed decision regarding that?
I think I understand your question, Mr.
It wasn't a hard one to understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that you're misinterpreting this agreement and this statement. What Mr. Reinhardt is saying is that people are allowed and do use that parking lot for not just church services, but for non-church services. So people use that parking lot, and I have used it personally, and I'm sure the different members of the community will say that they have used that parking lot when they need to go to shops that are close by. There's an entire plaza there, and so...
Mr. Montaño, am I also misinterpreting this statement that is in writing here? The surrounding businesses, that the lot is available for additional parking on all days except for Sunday morning. Am I misinterpreting that on Friday of this last week, that parking lot was available for parking, being that it wasn't a Sunday, that it was available for some other people to use it, being that that parking lot was completely full with those people that were going to that funeral mass?
Mr. Chavez, I think that if somebody had no intention of going to the funeral mass, but wanted to go to one of the nearby shops, they would have been allowed to use that parking lot. Unless you suggest that somebody was monitoring why people were parking there, and if they were parking there for any other reason but to attend a church service, they would not be allowed to park there, then I would understand what you're saying. But the point is that people can use that lot to park for all sorts of reasons.
And as I was saying at the very beginning, I'm glad we swore you in. But anyway, I have another question regarding the informal agreements that are included here. By informal, what do we mean? People are allowed to park there because nobody tells them not to?
I think that would be one way of saying it, but we have a formal agreement.
No, but it's informal right here.
I didn't write this document.
Well, but you said that you could talk on this. I'm asking you the question. What does that informal agreement mean? Does it mean that it's in writing or it's not in writing?
I think that with the other shop owners, I have not seen anything in writing.
It's not in writing?
I don't know that. But what I can tell you is that Old Martinez Hall has something in writing, and I just presented to you behind cabinet.
You just finished saying that you read this, and you just finished saying that you participated in this hearing in front of alcohol and beverage, and that you could comment on this. And I'm asking you, because this is part of what you participated on. Are these informal agreements that exist there, are they in writing or not?
Mr. Chavez, if I might address your question, I was not present when this was done. If you take a look at the last...
So you cannot comment on this?
I certainly can, and here's why. This document was signed February 17, 2012. This was several weeks after the hearing before the Alcohol and Gaming Division, which I was present for, in which I presented the information I'm able to tell you about with personal knowledge. My understanding is that Mr. Caldwell reached out to Mr. Reinhardt and asked him to explain that paragraph 15, and that is where this document comes from. What I'm telling you is I was not told that Mr. Caldwell had reached out to Mr. Reinhardt about this. I was not told by Mr. Reinhardt that he was drafting this. I didn't participate or know about the drafting of that paragraph. So what I'm telling you, Mr. Chavez, is I don't know why he said informal agreements, because we have a written agreement.
But this has nothing to do with Martinez, because that building has not been given a license. It hasn't opened, so therefore that parking cannot be used for that, because it's for when it's open. My question again to you, are these agreements, informal agreements in writing? And apparently you cannot answer, even though you represented your client at the hearing, you can answer that question. And so I'm just going to make this comment to you so that the rest of the people understand. Just because somebody has squatters' rights because they go there and park, doesn't mean that there's an agreement. People have just not, the priest or whoever, the mayordomos or whatever, have just not taken it upon themselves to tell them, hey, stop using this. If a different priest comes in, that can possibly happen. Things change all the time. I'll tell you, there's an entrance to my house. I used to use it all the time. One day the neighbor said, this is my property. You cannot use it anymore. I thought I had an informal agreement with him. Thank you.
Let me address one final issue, Mr. Chavez. The Alcohol and Gaming Division is aware of the agreement that Old Martinez Hall has with the Catholic Church. At prior hearings, the Catholic Church actively supported this application. If there is evidence that someone can present that there are no informal agreements between these other shop owners and that the people who park there are trespassing, then that might be evidence. But respectfully, I think that there's not going to be any testimony to that effect.
Well, Mr. Montaño, let me put it to you the other way, because you're an attorney, and if there is evidence that these people do have informal agreements, then that can stand. But since there is no evidence that they exist, it doesn't stand. So that's the other point. Thank you, Mr. Montaño, for your comments.
Commissioner Javier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Montaño. A couple of questions. On the document that you presented to us, number 16, it says that the following documents were attached.